Mainstream academia has a method with which they accept or denounce areas of discussion regarding a myriad of topics, and if your opinion, no matter how well researched and proven, goes counter to their accepted dogma, well, you're chastised and ridiculed relentlessly. And the field of archaeology is one of these areas where they put up roadblocks and thwart the efforts of anyone who puts forth a theory or hypothesis that counters the accepted versions put forth by the well-paid and tenured personnel at various universities. They have had an accepted timeline for human history going back roughly 4,000 years and denounced anyone who said otherwise. But with the discovery of a site in Turkey known as Göbekli Tepe, that timeline was pushed back 12,000 years. The site was discovered by the farmer, who was then tending the land, and in short order archaeological work began by German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt, and he began excavations at the site in 1994. And they continue to this day, and this discovery, along with several other similar locations in Turkey, has caused quite the firestorm within the academic community, as that their accepted timeline was totally obliterated and scattered to the winds, leading to many more free-thinking minds examining innumerable locations around the globe and asking questions that were previously taboo, questions like, just how old are the pyramids? Or how exactly did ancient man move such massive stone blocks? These were all questions that mainstream academia said were all answered, and there's nothing to see here, so please move along and stop asking these pesky questions. This bit of a preface is a segue into today's topic, which is mysterious structures. This particular episode will no doubt be a tad longer than my previous endeavors, and I hope you will all come along on this fascinating journey of discovery and wonderment as we unlock the many, many mysterious structures found around the globe. Human existence on this planet has been measured to extend back as far as millions of years, and just how long it took mankind to gravitate towards more permanent settlements is still debated to this day. But at some point, people began to build dwellings. And it's certainly a feasible speculation that the initial dwelling of human man was probably pretty simple. But over time, these dwellings and structures in particular began to become something far beyond simple. Some could argue that they became utterly spectacular. Our initial examination will be one that most may find obvious, and that will be the pyramids and adjoining structures found on the Giza Plateau, as well as other areas of Egypt, like Karnak and the Temple of Khafra, which are spectacular monolithic structures of immense size. I am certainly not going to try and say that I am any sort of expert on this topic, and there has been quite a large amount of work done regarding these various structures, but certain aspects of the approved narrative seem to fall flat upon scrutinized examination, particularly relating to the how of this all getting accomplished in only 20-some-odd years. The Great Pyramid of Giza is said to contain over 2 million stone blocks and has a volume of 2.6 million cubic meters. Now that is truly staggering. The accepted storyline would have one believe that one stone was lain in place every 5 minutes for over 25 years, with many of the stones weighing as much as 20 tons, and these stones were quarried at sites over 100 miles away from the Giza Plateau itself. Numerous theories have been put forth regarding how this was accomplished by common everyday Egyptian people. Some say huge sand ramps were used and the people dragged the stones atop wooden rollers. However, Egypt is not known for its abundance of wood, and all of this dragging of stones was done after the stones were transported by boat from quite a long distance away at the quarries in Aswan. Even today, with our modern machinery, this sort of task would be near impossible to accomplish, yet this was all done by mere peasants, who received daily rations of grain and beer. The pyramid itself is credited to the pharaoh Khufu, because a single red ochre cartouche was found by British explorer Howard Vyse, who had spent an enormous sum financing this great adventure. And some speculate that Vyse placed the painted cartouche there himself, or had it painted to justify this adventure to his financiers. And although it is said to be a tomb for the pharaoh, no bodily remains have ever been found inside any of the pyramids in Egypt. And many have put forth alternative views as to their true purpose. Everything from ancient power plants to astrological markers for spacecraft. The cardinal point alignment of the pyramid is so exact that it sits a mere 1 degree away from true north and south. That in and of itself is truly remarkable and would be very difficult indeed to accomplish today. Yet all of this design, planning, innumerable logistical nightmares, possible setbacks, and who knows what else was all accomplished by peasants and slaves over the course of 20-odd years. I dare say there seems to be something fishy in the accepted storyline. Researchers such as Anthony West and Christopher Dunn have put forth theories that are sound and logical, and the mainstream academia establishment has attempted to silence them on their viewpoints. Graham Hancock is another researcher with views going counter to the accepted narrative put forth by mainstream academia, and it is truly a pity that they have no stomach for new or alternate points of view, as that all science can only grow and prosper if all points of view are considered. Moving ever so slightly to the south and east of the Great Pyramid, we encounter the Sphinx, which is yet another monolithic creation of truly stupendous proportions. The actual date of its creation is unknown, but a stone slab fitted between the forepaws states that it was created by Khafra, and this slab was placed there by a royal offspring of Khafra, who had fallen asleep near the then buried Sphinx, and was instructed to unbury it, and by doing so he would become pharaoh, and as a penance to this vision, he had the inscribed slab created and placed at the Sphinx. Over time it was buried yet again, and it wasn't until the Napoleonic campaign in the 1700s that it was rediscovered by soldiers under Napoleon's command, and once it was yet again unburied, this slab was found, and credit for its creation was linked to the pharaoh Khafra, although many that have studied the Sphinx have found the size of the head to be far smaller than it should be, and speculation abounds regarding the head having been recarved from the original lion's head that is suspected to have originally been there in place of the human head on it today. It was carved out of the solid bedrock of the Giza Plateau, and has had many repairs and resurfacing of the outer stone, with some modern repairs being done with mere concrete, as opposed to actual carved stone. The Sphinx was quite a few odd anomalies, like a door next to the left ear, and one atop its head. It contains chambers beneath it, which have been scanned by researchers from Stanford University, but the then director of Egyptian antiquities, Zahi Hawass, did not like their conclusions, and had them unceremoniously removed from the site, with their research being ignored. Researchers such as Dr. Anthony West and Dr. Robert Schoch have conducted studies relating to the enclosure of the Sphinx, and have found that the erosion patterns on the stone were created by water flow spanning many thousands of years, and the amount of rainfall required for this level of erosion had not occurred in Egypt in over 8 to 12,000 years. And this is far further back than the accepted timeline would allow, and their research and conclusions in this regard were scorned by most, if not all, of the mainstream academic community. But additional research has shown that their initial conclusions were in fact correct. which leads to the conclusion that the Sphinx is far older than they would like us to think. And this is yet another example of alternative viewpoints being ignored by the academic community. So not only is the Sphinx far older than we have been told, but additionally the Great Pyramid at Giza, as well as those surrounding it and other pyramidal structures found in Egypt and elsewhere, are in fact older than we have been told, and this is just a simple fact based on what has been discovered. Stone itself cannot be dated like organic matter can be, so any discussion regarding its age is purely a guess and nothing more. And other sites in Egypt, which contain absolutely massive stone blocks, fall into this same timestamp discussion, and their true age is unknown. All cultures have stories of the Great Flood, and in Egypt this comes from historical context, from Sumeria and Enoch. And Sumeria was dead and gone long before any of the great Egyptian kingdoms reigned, and one has to ask what took place and what was built before the flood. For it is entirely possible that many of the structures in Egypt were built by people who perished in that great flood. And the people of Egypt and the pharaohs of the many kingdoms were the descendants of those people from before the flood. Heartfelt thanks goes out to all of you for traveling along with us on this tale of mystery and discovery. Please be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. This helps us a great deal. This is Professor Poppycock, signing off.